I'm Dr. Maria Guzman. I'm a triple board certified sleep physician and really excited to share with you what I've learned in my journey as a sleep doctor and treating patients who have sleep disorders. No matter what medical condition you're experiencing, sleep will tell us a little bit of what's going on with your nervous system. So I'll get into that physiology and what drives sleep and how we can empower ourselves to improve the quality of our sleep. So, the physiology of sleep, you've probably all heard about melatonin. It rises in the evening. It's the molecule that makes us sleepy at night. You've heard about cortisol, which is the hormone that wakes us up in the morning. Sleep regulation and wake regulation is a fine balance between these hormones. Some of them make us more wakeful during the day, and some of them make us sleepy. The propensity for wakefulness varies over the course of the day based on the amount of these hormones that we have. So there are two processes that drive sleep. Number one is the sleep pressure or the homeostatic sleep drive. And that's these yellow lines up here where you can see they start to increase the moment we wake up around 9 a.m., let's say. And you see those lines get longer and longer. And as we start to sleep in the evening, they get shorter. So we start to clear that sleep pressure. So that's hormones like adenosine and other neurochemicals that induce sleepiness. So we want to protect that sleep pressure because the moment we sleep, we take a nap, those hormones are cleared. That's the reason why if you have issues falling asleep, we want to avoid naps because we want to protect the sleep drive. So that's one of the systems. The other system is the circadian rhythm. We are diurnal creatures. We are awake during the day, we sleep at night, and that's based on our circadian clock, which is driven by the daylight, but it's also driven by certain external cues that our body gets. We need daylight. That is the most potent regulator of our circadian rhythm. That means we have to get up in the morning and get natural sunlight into our eyes to tell our brain, hey, it's time to be awake. Let's start the circadian rhythm. Let's start that clock. The times that we eat, the times that we move, the times that we have social connections, all of those entrain our circadian rhythm. Ideally, natural light, because of the wavelength of that light, is very different from the LED lights that we may have in an indoor environment. So the third system is the arousal, the nervous system, which guides our responses to the external environment. Fight or flight, right? Most people have heard of the fight or flight response, that stress response that happens automatically when we are in a situation where we get stressed or anxious. Naturally is there to protect us. If we have a lion that's going to come attack us, we want to be able to get our heart rate up. We want to be able to sweat and move the heat through. We want to be able to breathe fast and run from said lion. Once that lion goes away, the gazelle is back to eating, grazing, and just being back to normal. The problem for us humans is that many of the stressors that we feel are constant. They're always there, and it's like the lion doesn't go away. Chronic stress, trauma, hormonal shifts, and perimenopause for women, we absolutely understand that. One of the first symptoms that happens is sleep disruption, insomnia, waking up multiple times. And maybe that's why some of you are here, right? Because sleep just becomes non-refreshing. You wake up and maybe you slept 8 hours, but you wake up and you feel like you didn't sleep enough or you didn't get any sleep at all. By empowering ourselves to know this, we learn to work with our physiology to improve the quality of the sleep that we get and addressing the nervous system and the chronic stress. And at any point in our lives, all of us will experience trauma in some degree, and it will impact our nervous system. So my goal here is to explain how that is. When we have a threat, whether that's chronic illness, whether that's a social threat, whether that's stress at work, anxiety and the perfectionist thoughts, as was in my case, really disrupting my physical health. All of these stressors can cause your body to enter a low grade of inflammation state. A lot of inflammatory markers are released in response to stress. It's the same way that our heart rate goes up when we're anxious or when we're stressed or responding to something negatively. That inflammation disrupts sleep. It decreases restorative slow wave sleep. It increases the disruption of REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep, and it fragments sleep. And that itself causes cortisol and other immune dysregulations to occur because we don't have that slow wave sleep, deep sleep, which is where we recover our immune system, where we integrate memories. And that cycle feeds on itself. So then we have a higher risk of mood disorders, anxiety, depression, heart conditions like high blood pressure. If our immune system is impacted, and there's been studies even showing that if you don't have enough sleep the night before you get a vaccine, for example, you mount a weaker response to the vaccine as someone who got a better quality sleep. These responses to sleep disruption can be measured in some ways. Sleep impacts every aspect of our daily life. It impacts our fitness with regard to social fitness, our empathy levels, because sleep is where we process emotions. So if we are getting poor quality sleep, we're going to be more overreactive. We're going to be closed off to others. We're going to have a hard time with empathy. It impacts our blood sugar, our gut health, impacts our decision making. If we're not getting quality sleep that allows us to think clearly the next day, we wake up in a fog because our sleep is disrupted. And so optimizing the quality of it becomes really important because it affects all these other things. We go through different sleep stages from light to deep. And the deep is where we get the most recovery of memory, of the immune system. And then we have REM sleep, which is very close to wake. When we're in rapid eye movement sleep, that's where we dream. That's where our brain is very active. It almost looks as if we were awake. As we get into the night, the longer towards the end of the night, REM sleep becomes longer. We have more REM periods. Certain sleep disorders like sleep apnea are more common in REM because the muscles relax. That's what causes in many people a 3 or 4 a.m. awakening and really disrupted sleep towards the latter part of the night. And as you remember, we talked about sleep drive, which is what gives you sleep pressure to fall asleep. By the latter part of the night, we've cleared that. So we're not as sleepy. So we have more REM that can wake us up, and we have less of the sleep drive. So therefore, more likelihood for this 4 or 5 a.m. awakening, sometimes 3, 4 a.m. So it varies per person. The hormonal changes that happen in women are drastic in terms of progesterone and estrogen levels that change over the course of the perimenopause years. Menopause can last 5 years, 6 years, 10 years for some women. It totally depends and it's different for everybody. And it affects sleep. You have less REM sleep. So sleep physiology directly is impacted by hormonal changes. One, because estrogen decreases, muscle tone decreases of the airway. So the airway collapses more. There's more respiratory disturbance that can cause your brain to say you're breathing shallowly. So that awakening disrupts the sleep quality. It gets you out of the sleep stage that you were in. And so for women, something we want to address, independent of hot flashes, because we may think, okay, hot flash may be the thing that's waking me up because as estrogen goes down, my thermoregulation is all wonky. And so I'm going to have these rushes of adrenaline, heat waves, I'm sweating, can't get comfortable. We can treat the hot flash, and independent of that, the estrogen and hormonal and progesterone changes can still cause the sleep disruption because low progesterone decreases that sedative effect that we had before the perimenopause started. So all fun things, and it's not meant to be doom and gloom, but it's to understand the physiology of how all this stuff is connected. Burnout is real and it's affecting a lot of us, especially the ones who are highly driven, highly caring, that want to go the extra mile, and we can burn ourselves out in doing that. Every day, we want to show compassion for what our body can give us for that day or that night. And so, how do we optimize sleep health? We rule out sleep disorders and treat them. We address the physiological or external causes of fatigue or psychosocial, right? Addressing what's going on at work that's causing us or in our family relationships. And maybe that means going to counseling or working with somebody, a coach or somebody that can help you figure out from another perspective, what am I not seeing here? Protect sleep physiology. We talked about the circadian rhythm, the morning light, morning movement. Amy, if you're walking in the mornings, fantastic. The meal times, avoiding late night meals within 2 to 3 hours of bed, because then we are telling our body, hey, work, digest. No, we want to tell our body it's time for sleep. You digested the evening meal, you had enough time. Maybe a 5 minute walk after dinner is a really great way to tie out the circadian rhythm. A sleep pressure. So, how do we optimize that? Sleep pressure means how many of you here have had a terrible night and it's 2 in the morning and you haven't fallen asleep? And then by 3, you're like, okay, now I'm going to sleep. But because I didn't sleep all night, I'm going to sleep till 10 a.m. I'm going to give myself sleeping in as a gift because I had a terrible night of sleep. What that does is that when you wake up at 10 or 11 a.m., now you don't have as much sleep pressure for the next night. So now we're going to have a harder time falling asleep. So, one of the rules that really optimizes and consolidates your sleep is waking up at the same time every day, no matter what, whether you're working or not. This is some of the tools that we use for patients who struggle with insomnia, difficulty falling or staying asleep, and we've ruled out everything else. So, no matter what, you wake up same time, choose your time that works for you. But that's the first rule. Don't go to bed unless you're sleepy, and create the conditions that allow for sleepiness. We want to have me time, ideally earlier in the evening, ideally not right before bed, so that when we're wanting to get ready for bed, we avoid the things that keep us awake. Social media, looking at our phones, watching TV, it tells our brain to be awake because our brain is getting the light into our eyes that prevents melatonin from being made. If we go to bed and we don't get sleepy, we want to get out of bed. But don't stay in bed if you're unable to fall asleep. This is the hardest one to do, right? Because you're like, I'm supposed to go to bed. I did the right thing. I went to bed at 9 and now it's 10 and I haven't fallen asleep. Now I'm just frustrated because I did the thing. I went to bed at 9. So instead of fighting the fact that we haven't fallen asleep, because that activates the brain signal, so we're not going to go into the slow sleep brain waves. Instead of fighting our physiology and getting frustrated, because in that state, you can't fall asleep. Get out of bed, go to a cozy corner in your living room, put a book, put some jazz music, do a just jigsaw puzzle, do something that's easy enough, but boring enough. If you're sleepy, your eyes are gonna start getting heavy, and that's your signal to go back to bed. So those are the rules. And of course, I'm biased, but this is my experience. I had to regulate my nervous system in order to calm everything down that caused inflammation of my optic nerve. And that's how I got into mind body medicine. Mind body medicine means recognizing that our physical health is impacted by our mental health. And so I felt that in an autoimmune condition. This is our current biomedical model. And I believe this to be true as somebody that trained at Emory and Mayo Clinic. We see medicine as what is the evidence-based medication? What is the FDA-approved medication for this condition? So drugs and surgery are at the center of what we offer patients. And if that doesn't work, then we offer them this complementary and alternative modalities, like second options. Then we have the new medicine model, which is evidence-based, and it starts with self-care. Self-care is healthcare, you guys. Drinking water, walking, giving yourself a breath, connecting with others, that's more important to your nervous system because the things that happen day in and day out than the thing I can do for you in a 20-minute visit as your doctor. So self-care, which are the mind-body approaches of the way our relationship with food, our relationship with movement. Do we give ourselves time for self-expression, drawings, movement, words, poetry? Understanding that the social and economic factors that affect us impact our health, and including those that we may experience in our own families, workplace, or educational settings. So navigating how am I doing is the first question that I wanted to help my patients address. Outside of that is modalities that allow us to navigate in group settings and community settings, improving our capacity for self-healing. And that could be things that are very low risk, right? Acupuncture or musculoskeletal manipulation, massage, joining a support group. And outside of these community circles, then we have medications that we want to use. Of course, if drinking enough water, if getting outside, if trying all the things to regulate my sleep is not working, maybe I have the chronic disease of insomnia. And then I want to work with tools around that. And for insomnia, cognitive behavioral therapy works better and lasts longer than any medication. So, this is the way healthcare should be. And I strongly believe this.